हेलो, हमारे सभी दर्शकों को माइकल फुलवानी का नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल। पहले तो आप सब लोगों को, हमारे इंडिया और पाकिस्तान के दर्शकों को हैप्पी इंडिपेंडेंस डे। बड़ी परेड होगी, एंजॉय कीजिए। और आज के प्रोग्राम के अंदर हम आपको बड़ा अच्छा इन्फॉर्मेशन देते हैं। आपको याद होगा कि लास्ट प्रोग्राम के अंदर हमारे साथ थे मिस्टर डेविड नाकमन, जो अटर्नी हैं यूएस इमिग्रेशन के, और फेलिशिया फेलमैन, जो कैनेडियन इमिग्रेशन के अटर्नी हैं। Felicia, I just introduced you to our viewers and David also. So thank you both of you for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
तो बहुत सारे सवाल हमारे दर्शकों के थे, जिसमें उन्होंने पूछा था कि अगर हमारा डिपोर्टेशन हो गया है तो क्या हम कनाडा जा सकते हैं परमानेंट वहाँ सेटल करने के लिए। टेम्पररी वर्कर्स के बारे में बताया था, स्टूडेंट्स के बारे में बताया था। I was just telling them about the things that we talked in the last program, about the questions on whether persons are deported. Some people might have committed a crime. There may be other reasons for which they cannot want to stay, they don't want to stay. Some people have given up hope, to tell you the truth. Many people that have been staying here for long periods of time, pay their taxes, and they're frustrated, either go back to India or Pakistan or do something else, and the second best option they think is Canada. So in that context, David, you want to make any comments about a question from Felicia?
Well, Michael, probably a lot like you, our practice is U.S. immigration based, and we're immigrating people to the United States. But as options become resorbed and become more difficult, you, like I, once we've exhausted all of the options, we say, well, what about the possibility of immigrating to Canada? So what we've done is we've surrounded ourselves with Canadian immigration lawyers who are here on the ground in the United States, who are able to best advise us. And probably like for you, Canadian immigration law is a bit of a mystery. We know that there is a federal Canadian immigration law similar to the United States, but there's also provincial immigration laws in Canada, which are very interesting because they have very special programs. And Felicia is going to tell us a little bit about how provincial programs work and whether that may offer some new options for some of our viewers. Felicia?
Thank you, David. The provincial programs are nice to consider. They are primarily employment-driven, which means...
Excuse me, I'm interrupting you. When you say provincial, what does that mean?
Canada is made up of a series of provinces.
Okay.
You've heard of them.
Yes.
British Columbia, Alberta, where all the oil is, Ontario, home of industry, Quebec, of the French, et cetera, et cetera.
So do the provinces have different immigration policies?
Quebec certainly does. Quebec has its own immigration policies, but they work in tandem with the federal system. But what we see is that in the specialized provincial programs, the province does all the legwork, checks out the person, makes sure that they're really coming in for what they say they're coming in for, and then sort of for health and for checking whether or not the person has a criminal record, it goes to the federal authorities. But the federal authorities are last. The initial review of the application in a provincial application is at the province level. And the benefit, by the way, of the province is that it's about twice as fast as applying through the federal system. So there are some benefits.
Unlike U.S., because U.S., no matter where you live in the country, same immigration law applies to.
Right.
Actually, in most of the cases in the world, other than some waiting period issues that may be a little different in U.S. immigration, but we have one system, but you have a little variance based upon the province.
We have variations. You don't always apply through a province.
Right.
You only apply through a province if you fit under the rubric of their program.
Okay.
Normally, actually, the vast majority of people apply federally, but if you can fit yourself into a provincial program, all the more power to you because it's twice as fast to immigrate.
Could you give us an example, Felicia, of a provincial program that might be something that would move a little faster or something that might be of some interest to the viewers?
Or maybe better than a federal, let us say that. If a person doesn't fit into a federal, it's possibility then to look at the provincial.
Sure. Well, the province of Saskatchewan, province right very close to the middle of the country, has a major city in it, Saskatoon. Okay, a large city with many amenities and many different cultures, a great place to live. Saskatchewan has a program where if you have employment, let's say as a truck driver, okay, if somebody from the province hires you, then you can be processed at a certain pace. That's what they're looking for. And they have many different kinds of jobs, some of them not even requiring the expertise of something like a truck driver. Sometimes food and beverage people, sometimes hotel workers.
So let me ask you a specific question, because earlier you might have mentioned that in order for somebody to immigrate, it could be either based upon investment or a job offer from an employer in Canada. But now I think what you are going into the question as to if a person does not have a job offer, are there certain kind of occupations or jobs that you can do? You handle an immigration case and there's no job offer, but the person may be doing some kind of work or something in which the person may not need a job offer from any employer in Canada.
Absolutely. There's a list of 29 occupations.
29?
29.
Very nice. Let's hear.
Occupations under pressure. They run the gamut. There are some crane operators and petroleum engineering type of people who are required. There are some social workers and psychologists and physicians who are required. There are some food and beverage types of managers who are required, architects, pharmacists, nurses. It really does, there really are a wide range of occupations under these 29 occupations, and it's kind of what we would call in the United States like a self-sponsorship, because...
So can we tell our viewers that if you want to immigrate to Canada and you don't have a job offer, that you can go ahead and choose another kind of job or a profession which exempts you from getting a job offer? Or is there a requirement that the person must be working in that occupation for a certain period of time?
Excellent, and that's really the rub at the end of the day for people, is that you have to have a year of experience in the profession in which you are applying for.
That's not bad. 1 year is not bad.
No, it's not bad. 1 year in the last 10.
Yeah,
so a lot of people, especially if you really are a social worker, then you do have that year.
How about a taxi driver?
That is not on the list of occupations under pressure.
Truck driver is?
No. Truck driver requires a job offer in a provincial program. But what's nice about, let's say, the truck driver option or the hotel worker option in Saskatchewan is that if you can get yourself that job offer, then you can be processed through that provincial program. And it may be, you know, for example, on the list of 29 occupations under pressure, a physician, well, we don't have so many physicians coming to us who want to immigrate to Canada. But we have people who have experience in the hotels or who are willing to go to Saskatchewan and see if they can get a job there, or who we can set up with job finding programs.
How about a restaurant cook, a specialty cook?
That kind of person might be able to fit in under a provincial program, but it is not under the 29 occupations on the federal system.
So if any of our viewers want, request that please give me a list of those occupations, 29, then you would be happy to do it?
Absolutely, I think that's good.
So you guys, listen, if you want to immigrate to Canada and you don't have a job offer, you don't know any employer, but you fit into any of the 29 categories, it may be possible to immigrate to Canada without even an employer or a sponsor. Is that correct?
That's accurate.
Fantastic, fantastic. But 1 year requirement, so no big deal. I mean, they are here for years and years. They can always shift to a different occupation or a job or experience for 1 year.
Yes, but some of these jobs, like I said, some of them are very like strictly defined, like a physician or a social worker, you know, or a pharmacist. These are jobs where people would have been planning on their profession for many years before even sometimes considering Canada. You know?
So how about a U.S. immigration lawyer? Can David and me immigrate to Canada and without a job offer?
Unfortunately, it would seem that lawyers did not craft this list because lawyers aren't on it.
Especially immigration lawyers.
Okay, David, so let us, you and me, go and work in a restaurant for 1 year and then we can immigrate.
Exactly. Management. But actually, lawyers are on the NAFTA list, which is maybe something that we should discuss.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
Well, actually, before we go to that, if I could just ask you a quick question, Felicia, and obviously as a lawyer, I'm thinking through the issues of how I would prove that an individual has that 1 year of experience. What would you suggest to our viewers that they might be able to gather together as evidence to prove that 1 year of experience?
Like a tax return and maybe a job letter.
Well, let me tell you, it's the job letter, Michael, you got that right.
Yeah.
It's the job letter that the government's after. They want a job letter, and it's quite a detailed job letter, listing your salary, listing your duties, listing the amount of time you worked there, getting a seal from the place, so that it really shows that the job letter has to be quite solid in proving the employment. Now, I have had clients, electrician is on the list, okay? So I had a client as an electrician who was self-employed all the time. She worked on film sets, and she had to go from set to set. So I provided the government with her, all of her pay stubs from each set, because she didn't really have an employer. She was really self-employed. So sometimes we have to work around it and try to find other ways to prove, but oftentimes a letter from the employer will do it.
As a follow-up to that, Felicia, do you find that there is an independent investigation that is done by the Canadian government when that application is made, or for the most part is it done on the papers?
Are you saying, do they call the employer? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, exactly, yeah.
I don't know. I think that every case is different, and I think that the government looks at each case and decides how they're going to proceed, but they certainly have the capacity to call the employer because they have all the information to get in touch with that
somewhat,
person.
I would say, like U.S. consulates or immigration service. Majority of the case is based upon the documents that are submitted, tax returns, job letters, pay stubs and all that. But they do. Every consulate, by the way, have an anti-fraud unit. And some of the cases are given to them, and they go do a field investigation and all that.
And Canadian immigration, like every immigration system in the West, is often feeling under more and more pressure, and I think we can expect more and more safeguards over time.
I have a quick question, Felicia, also. This is a very interesting area personally to me, but also I'm sure that our viewers are hanging on every word. Can you tell me where is this list generated from? What ministry in Canada generates this list? I know in the United States we have the U.S. Department of Labor, which promulgates a Schedule A, Group 1, which gives us a list of occupational classifications that are short in the United States, such as nurses, physical therapists. But can you tell us what group in Canada promulgates this list?
That's a great question, and I've thought about it myself. You know, I don't know exactly. I suspect that it has something to do with the census that we have every number of years in Canada, where they figure out they must be working with the Department of Labor in Canada to figure these things out, because not only does it have to be current, it has to think about the future, because the people do not get, a pharmacist applies and he doesn't get approved for a year or 2 years. So he's coming in 2 years' time. What's going to be in 2 years' time? This is all going to be something that's...
And the list has been changing from time to time.
From time to time it changes. It didn't change from last year to this year. We just had a new list regenerate itself. Now what did happen was we went from 1,000 acceptable applications in each profession to 500 acceptable applications. So there is a problem with the amount of people they're prepared to take. They're prepared to take, but there is not a change in the actual professions that are on the list. I think it's a very tricky business for governments to figure out what jobs are going to require filling over the next 5 years.
So Felicia, from time to time, because I work so closely with Canadian immigration lawyers in my office, as Michael does, we have occasion, of course, to peruse the CIC website, which is an excellent resource of information that tells us what's going on in the immigration world. Is that a place where we can access this data with the types of jobs that are needed in Canada, or do we have to, how do we get this information?
Well, certainly you can contact a Canadian immigration lawyer and they'll be able to provide the information for you. You can go to the CIC website. It's an excellent website, and it's meant to be very viewer-friendly. I think that those are really the best sources.
I think we are running out of time, but viewers, if you have any questions on Canadian immigration, please feel free to contact us. I'm sure Felicia will be happy to respond to you and provide any assistance to any of our viewers who are planning or who decide to immigrate to Canada. David, Nachman, and Felicia Zeidman, both of you, thank you very much. And we're going to continue this program on Canadian immigration from time to time whenever we get an opportunity and whenever Felicia is available. And thank you very much. And thank you very much for watching the program, and goodbye.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks for inviting us.